All right, back for another Whiteboard Wednesday. And today I'm going to talk about my view on like high impact experimentation and why that's significantly better than just standard testing, as like most people would refer to it. And what are the things you can do to actually drive better experimentation? And the framework that I use to think about this is basically, is it like a marginal improvement that you're going to get? Or are you looking for something like a 10x change in your business? And how much certainty do you want to have? So do you want to do a high certainty change or do you want to have a high risk change, meaning like risk and certainty are directly the opposite, right? So do you want to have like a high risk bet? And so fundamentally, the thing that triggered this was actually Shireen, who I've actually never spoken to, but I am an internet fan of. She mentioned that, like A/B testing is not the way. And I actually completely agree with her. And the reason I think it's not the way is because what you're optimizing for when you're doing an A/B test is you're specifically optimizing for high certainty and marginal improvements. The reason you would want to do this, if you're going to do this, is actually that you get rewarded for marginal improvements and high certainty. And so I'm not, I actually would never suggest that it's like bad without knowing the context. And people will always operate on their incentives. And so let's just say you're at like a large company where like, a 5% change in a particular outcome, if you have like extremely high certainty, meaning like you can like tell your boss like, hey, I am sure that this is what we should do in order to get a 5% improvement, like A/B testing is the way to go. You'll get promoted, you'll make more money, you'll get your bonuses, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm not saying that anything is bad or good. I'm just saying that you're optimizing for different things depending on where you are. Now, I think that there's things that you can do that are high certainty that are going to like 10x your business, but in almost every case, those are extremely high cost, right? Because you don't get to have something that is going to like 10x your business with very low certainty, with very high certainty, unless you're willing to pay a lot for it, right? And so I think that that's like a bar that is like not worth seeking to attain. Like a good example of this is, hey, I need to add $5 million of revenue to my business. It's like, great, I can actually give you a high certainty way to do that. Buy a business that is producing $10 million. Turns out that's expensive, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying that this is not attainable. I'm just saying that the things that you need to do in order to accomplish this tend to be high cost, and you're by definition paying for certainty with cost. High risk and 10x opportunity, that's like moonshots. This is where I think the beauty of a good experimental design can really come in. And in the SaaS world, this is what Raba's particularly good at. In the D2C world, there's a bunch of people who I really respect who are very good at this. But basically, this is where you specifically carve out a portion of your funds or a portion of however you're doing your customer acquisition to direct that to a place that you're really unsure what is going to happen if you were to do that. Right. So this, I call this like the Ohio, is like internally how I like for fun do it, because like restaurants, when they want to test a new concept, they test it first in Ohio because it's like a good reflection of the rest of the country. And so like Taco Bell's new like crazy ideas get tested there and things like that, right? And so it's like, what is your Ohio? How do you identify that? That's how you should do your experiment design. And that's like the best way to invest in your moonshots. And then high risk with marginal improvements. This is what I would just call like a bad bet. And so like uh, in a lot of, I mean, what's amazing though is that people often don't realize where they are on the certainty curve. And so there's like a lot of, this happens more often than one would hope, right? And so like a good example of this is like, let's just say you're going to do a site redesign and currently your site is performing pretty well. So it's like the maximum that you can do better on your site is like a 10% lift. Like category, that's like marginal roughly, right? And so you just do the whole site redesign and you launch it across everywhere. That's like a very high risk move because you actually don't know the downside. The upside is 10%, but the downside is 100%, right? Because like it could totally tank, and your gain is marginal. And so it's like those are the types of things that I think are like I would just call them bad bets, and you've got to figure out like your Ohio in order to like take that risk and seclude it, and then also actually make it more likely to have a very high impact that's positive. But I think that there's the category that people misassociate the risk on, that is worth further interrogating. So, anyways, this is my framework for how I think about like what's a good experiment. How do you think about A/B testing and what role does it play? And hopefully that was helpful. I'll see you in the next one.